In the ancient city of Rome, a slave named Epictetus found freedom not in chains broken, but in chains understood. Born into servitude, he would become one of history's greatest philosophers, teaching that true liberty comes from within. As a young slave, Epictetus endured physical punishment and hardship. Yet even as blows fell upon his back, his mind soared toward higher truths. His master could chain his body, but never his thoughts. When Epictetus gained his freedom, he did not seek wealth or power. Instead, he chose to teach. In gardens and public spaces, crowds gathered to hear his words of wisdom, for he spoke not of what he possessed, but of what possessed him. Epictetus taught that we must distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. Our opinions, our desires, our actions, these are ours to command. But other people's behavior, external events, outcomes, these belong to the universe, not to us. Consider the man who loses his fortune in a bad investment. He curses the market, blames the gods, and despairs endlessly. Yet Epictetus would ask, was it within his control that the investment would fail? No. Was it within his control how he responded? Yes. The Stoic does not fight against the natural order of things. Like water flowing around obstacles, he adapts. When faced with adversity, he asks not why this happened to him, but how he can respond with virtue and wisdom. Epictetus taught that difficulties are opportunities for growth. The soldier who faces battle with courage, the farmer who works through drought with persistence, the parent who guides children with patience, these are the true victors, for they have conquered themselves. In his later years, Epictetus lived in voluntary poverty. He owned few possessions and sought no comfort beyond basic necessities. For he had learned that happiness does not depend on external circumstances, but on the state of one's character. Like a skilled sailor who navigates by the stars regardless of weather, the Stoic maintains his course through life's storms. While others panic at unexpected setbacks, he remains anchored in his principles, understanding that turbulence is simply part of the journey. Epictetus emphasized that we should care for what we can influence with the same attention we give to our own gardens. Our responses, our efforts, our character, these require daily cultivation, while we accept that results belong to fate. When others seek glory through conquest, the Stoic finds strength in self-mastery. The greatest victory is not over others, but over one's own passions, fears, and desires. This inner triumph requires more courage than any battlefield. Epictetus spent hours studying the works of previous philosophers, particularly his mentor Musonius Rufus. But he did not merely memorize teachings, he lived them, testing each principle against the realities of human experience. Each morning brought new opportunities to practice virtue. Each challenge was a chance to demonstrate wisdom. Epictetus understood that philosophy was not an abstract exercise, but a way of being that transformed every moment into a classroom. Epictetus observed that most people react to minor inconveniences as if facing great tragedies. The spilled wine, the broken cup, the delayed appointment, these become sources of rage when we forget that our responses are always our choice. In the quiet hours of night, Epictetus found clarity. Away from the distractions of daily life, he could examine his thoughts and actions with the precision of a surgeon, removing what was unnecessary and strengthening what was essential. Death, loss, change, these are natural parts of existence. The Stoic does not deny grief or pretend these things do not matter. Instead, he accepts them as part of life's design, finding peace not in resistance, but in understanding. Knowledge without wisdom is like a treasure without a key. Epictetus studied extensively, but always with the question, how does this make me a better person? How does this help me live with integrity and purpose? Epictetus taught that we are all rational beings, capable of virtue regardless of our station. The slave and the master, the rich and the poor, the powerful and the weak all possess the same capacity for wisdom and moral choice. Self-examination was central to Epictetus' teaching. Just as one might study their reflection in water, we must honestly assess our thoughts, motivations, and actions. Only through such scrutiny can we hope to improve. While others sought pleasure in external things, wine, music, flattery, Epictetus found joy in the exercise of reason and the practice of virtue. He discovered that true satisfaction comes not from what we acquire, but from who we become. Epictetus' studentarian carefully recorded his master's teachings, preserving for future generations the wisdom that had transformed a slave into a philosopher. These words would influence countless others, including the great emperor Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, known as the philosopher emperor, carried Epictetus' teachings into the highest levels of power. In the pressures of ruling an empire, he found solace in the same principles that had sustained a former slave. Epictetus taught that we are citizens of the universe, connected to all things through reason and nature. Our individual lives are brief moments in eternity, but within that moment, we have the power to live with meaning and purpose. The path of Stoicism is not easy, nor is it meant to be. Like the climb to a temple's peak, it requires effort, dedication, and the willingness to leave behind what is comfortable for what is true. But for those who make the journey, the view from the top transforms everything. Epictetus left behind no great monuments or treasures, only words that continue to guide seekers of wisdom. His legacy reminds us that true freedom comes not from controlling the world around us, but from mastering ourselves. In acceptance, we find peace. In virtue, we find strength. In wisdom, we find our true nature.